Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios, an AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, also Eva.ai. Our companies inside of GSD range from skincare products to companies that are dealing with climate change. We today have 180 companies inside of GSD that represent 73 countries around the world. Our motto is that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. And with that, I have my incredible guest, return guest actually, Kiran Kalakuntla is a serial entrepreneur. He's using an leading AI-powered health benefits platform, revolutionized preventative and personalized healthcare in India. He's got over 17 years with experience spanning telecom and product strategies at renowned companies like AT&T and Alto Wireless. He's expertly merged technology with healthcare to proactively manage employee well-being and optimize healthcare costs with over 1,000 enterprises, inspired by his own experiences navigating India's fragmented healthcare system. Kiran founded ekincare in 2015, is positioned as a leader in health tech landscape. So with that, I'd like to bring Kiran on board. Hey, good to see you again. I feel like Groundhog Day.
Good to see you, Gary. Thanks for.
So let's start right at the top. Can you share more about working in telecom and AT&T and Altel prior to founding ekincare, and what made it what really, it's a lot different when you have meetings to have meetings, right? And but when you do your own company, I mean, every day it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So just like every South Indian, right, born and brought up in Hyderabad and India, right, engineer by did my engineering for undergrad, and like every South Indian, decided to move to the US to pursue masters, and that's where I moved to US. Did my management from Duke, and from there on.
How did you
Uh,
like Duke, Kieran? How did So Durham, I've been to Durham a few times, but how did you like Duke? Was it interesting or not?
it was interesting. I mean, it's the first time in the U.S. I mean, I was the first one in both paternal maternal side actually traveling outside India. So for me, it was a new country, a new experience. Right, I was just absorbing every bit of it. Right, everything was exciting. Right, and uh, yeah, I mean, after graduating from Duke, I got an opportunity to work as a product engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer by undergrad, right? But started off as a product engineer in telecom, which was very frightening for me. But my ex boss had a lot of faith in me, saying I'll figure it out, I'll do it. So that was the first level of confidence, right? Which um, where I started off as a product engineer, did really well, moved into product development, then moved into product marketing with AT&T, and that's how I learned the entire 360 degrees of product, right? And going back to first principles, right? Any product that is, you have a great problem or you have a complex problem, and you need to find a scalable solution that is a win-win across, right? That's the same fundamental, whether you are in telecom, whether you are in healthcare, or whether you are in real estate or any other industry for that matter, right? So while doing that for 10 years, I mean, that's when I came across my own personal problem, which was my parents were back in India, and I couldn't keep a track of their health, right? And while I was dabbling with the greatest and the latest of the technology, from 5G, 3D smartphones, wearables, Fitbit, Jawbone, Garmin back in the day, right, to saying, how do I keep track of my parents, right? And that's when I looked at some of the existing solutions from the big giants, whether it be Health Vault or Google Health, and not a great lot of outcomes coming out of those solutions, because you had to manually feed in the data, or you upload it as a Google Drive
Mm.
solution. There was no intelligence coming out of it, right? So, uh, and not coming from a healthcare background, I wanted the solution to be smart enough to actually advise me in terms of what to do next, right? So
Yeah,
it took
yeah.
a
Well, that's a, and that's a, I had the same thing with my dad, right? So when I was in 2016, so I founded this company, Findo, which was one of the first generative AI companies in Palo Alto. And my dad had a stroke. So he's in Pennsylvania. I'm in California. It's 3,000 miles to go back and forth. My mother had passed away. So he had a stroke. And I'm like, what do you do? And so we started a company called Zemply. So actually, she's from India also. And we did it. She's from Stanford University. And we started a company, remote patient monitoring. And the whole thing was I was out there. I didn't know what was going on with my dad. So then I put cameras in his house, pressure sensitive pads, all this stuff. And, and I built a system so that we would understand what was happening. Because the other thing is, with the aging population, it's hard, and the travel, it's hard to keep track of your parents to help. And
absolutely.
and then you got this medical system that's screwed up because and we could go through this. I call it medical infobesity. There's so much fluff, right? It's unbelievable. You don't know what kind of treatments, that. So I had last year, I had a dog that had stage 4 cancer, and I just wanted to figure out what can we do. And I used generative AI, multi-agent model, to be able to help me with a dog, right? To find a vaccine that put her in complete remission of stage 4 cancer. Now, I did it within 2 weeks. Well, it was for your human, going down through it. And I've been through this myself, right? Why don't we have advantage of these tools to be able to help us to live longer? We talk about living to 150, but if we don't have the tools to be able to do it, and it's interesting. So, what specific experiences, challenges that led you? You did it with your parents, but what happened? What was the aha moment? You said, "I've got something here that really differentiates itself from other health benefit platforms that are available in India and, quite frankly, the rest of the world."
Yeah, and then that was the beginning, right? So that personal health assistant that we wanted to build, right? It had to be a sucker for data, right? Sucker for data in the sense, uh, today, in India, the general rule is, or the general usage is, we carry around our medical thick file, right? Chugging from one hospital to another hospital. There is no health exchange, right? Unlike in the US to a certain degree, or any country, right? So depends on which hospital you go, the data is interpreted differently, the reagents are different, there's no standardization, right? So our first problem, that's how the name electronic kin care, ekin care, was coined, right? And the first problem I wanted to solve for myself is, can I read through all these documents that are lying in the house, and is can the platform be intelligent enough to spit me out, right, in terms of what the current state of affairs is and where I need to focus from a risk, and also guide me through that, right? And for that, the first fundamental problem, even today, that nobody has been able to solve, and it is getting solved thanks to LLM now, right? This I'm talking about 2015, right, when we built our AI models, where we took off the shelf OCR, right, and we extracted the data. But what was more important was, the data is different, the size form factor is different depending on different hospitals and different service providers. So we had to extract it, clean it, structure it, standardize it, so that we can compare apples to apples. We could
Mhm.
draw a trend line for each medical parameter, right? And then once you draw a trend, standardize this entire asymmetric information, right? That's when you can start saying, okay, what your current state of affairs is this. Now, from there, once you start adding more and more variables, you start drawing a Venn diagram and understanding, pinpointing where the issue is, and what specific hyper personalization we could do in terms of nudging the individual to a positive health, right? And
Yeah,
that
but
was the that,
no, what you're saying, but that's for everybody. Everybody, Karen. Seriously. I'll give you my own personal story. So last October, I got diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease, because I took too many ibuprofens. So I went in and, so I have a concierge doctors actually. And I said, well, what do you do? So, well, current situation is you got to take on this diet and etc. I said, I took too many ibuprofens because my back hurt. It's hurt for 30 years. It hurt. And so, again, the large language model, my 14 multi agent model, I went to, it's my think tank. I said, what do I do? And it told me mesenchymal stem cells. And it said the top guy in the world's located in the Philippines. Excuse me, Thailand. And it listed the Philippines, it listed India, it listed Russia, Sweden, all the places. Said, and I said, well, what do you do? They said, you can have these mesenchymal stem cells and they will reverse stage 3 kidney disease. Well, I didn't know. I'm not a doctor. And no doctors that I know, except my one of my concierge doctors, even had any clue about it. Honestly, it's unbelievable. So I go over 2 weeks later, I got completely cured of stage 3 kidney disease personally, right? All the wrinkles went out of my face, no more wrinkles. My sciatic nerve is gone. And if I wouldn't have had these tools like you have, right? This is the key to longevity because the problem is infobesity. In Kieran's world, just in your world, Kieran, you got 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You have more information, Kieran, in your personal cloud, the entire web. The problem is Kieran's trajectory is following the trajectory as a web, meaning doubling every year. In 5 years with IoT, you're going to have 10 million items. But think about this, Kieran. You're smart. You went to Duke, right? Duke, like Ivy League school. But how many times in the last 2 weeks someone says, Kieran, I sent you a message. Did you get it? Where'd you send it? I sent it to your email. Which one? Your corporate, your duke.edu. Let me check. I can't find it. Send it again. We're inundated. Doctors are inundated. They got too much data. Tools like yours that give us insights that are kind of like your grandmother with empathy and compassion that can help us to make decisions are critically important. And I've written probably 100 articles about this stuff, just FYI, because it's a big problem. It's not that we don't have the information. It's like you said, Karen, we can't interpret it. And the problem is because of that, and on the planet Earth today, there's 176 zettabytes of data. People say to me, what's a zettabyte? Well, if you took DVDs or CDs, those old things, and stacked them one on top of another, they would go 128 times between the Earth and the Moon, and it's grown about 69.6% per year, right? So we are continually hashing data. Then you get hospitals or doctors in some of these groups where they can spend 15 or 7 minutes with the patient. How in the world, if you have a physical and you're in there for 7 minutes, can you understand anything? It's nuts,
oh,
right? It's
absolutely.
insane. And so your tool, let's talk about how do you go down the ekincare leverage AI to provide preventative and personalized healthcare, right?
So,
What
so
do you do and how does it help?
yeah, so that was the foundation, right? That was the basis, right? And uh, we got approached by one of the corporate very early on saying, hey, by the way, we do this annual health screening across 9,000 employees every year, right? But we have no clue in terms of what the risk is because these 9,000 employees go to hundreds of different service providers and we don't collect the data, we don't have access to that information. So every year we are like waking up under a new rock, right? Trying to figure out what to do next. And the only thing I know is how many spent and how much did I spend and how many went for a health checkup, right? That's no good, right? I mean, after doing it for 10 years, you're still back to square zero, right? Square one. And that's when we got in, we took some of this information, we our tool, and we gave them a lot more insights in terms of the longitudinal view as well as in terms of the risk of their entire population, which was an eye opener, right? Because if you look at it, right, today the way companies typically work is if you have $100 and 100 rupees, you distribute $1 across 100 employees, thinking somebody would benefit from out of it, right?
Yeah.
The strategy is if you have $100, use $50 to understand the baseline across the entire company, understand who needs the maximum attention, right? Understand the baseline, understand the risk cohorts, and keep leverage the $50 that's saved towards this um, cohort that needs high touch, high engagement to improve their health, right? That's when the overall health IQ of the company actually increases. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark, hoping something.
Yeah, well, that's what we do with a lot of stuff because we don't know what we're doing, right? We just throw it out there, and you need to take rather than a shotgun, a laser approach to it. But that's and if you want to live to 150, which is a realistic age when you take all these pieces and put them together. The Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. You can do that. People don't get it now, right? So, we talked about stem cells. These stem cells, people don't get that you can add 10, 15 years to your life by doing stem cells intravenously, put in 100 million stem cells. It changes everything. And, here's the other thing, Kiran. I don't know about you, but we buy nice cars, Porsche, uh, Mercedes, all these cars. But what would you rather put $100,000 in one of them or live in another 10, 15 years? I don't know about you, but when you're dead, it doesn't matter, does it?
I would say live like a king while you are at it.
Yeah,
Enjoy life.
enjoy your life. You know what I mean? You want to enjoy your life and have fun. It's and then the other thing is, the time value of money, right? So the longer you live and the more productive you are. So what you're doing is, I mean, think about it. In real reality, you're giving people a better quality of life. It's just the way it is. You're making them, you can live longer and better quality of life. Net it down. That's really what you're doing, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely. And then that's where, I mean, like, so our approach to the entire market, right? Today, if you look at the employee healthcare market in India itself, right, that's close to $1 billion spend that's already happening, right? And if you look at I mean, Southeast Asia, it's almost 7x of that, right? But if you look at any of these markets, right, again, what cannot be measured cannot be improved, right? That's the, I mean, that's the statement for anything,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's everything.
Right. But when it comes to employee health, right, there's no measurement. It's like I said, it's just darts, right? Just throws, hoping somebody, you hit the bullseye, right? But it doesn't work that way, right? And that's where the data science, that's where the AI comes into the play, so that it gives you a strategy and not a hope, right?
Well, that's it. I mean, that's what we got to do. We can't have blindfolds on. It's like shooting darts and at the bar near Duke, and you go in there and somebody says, "Hey, listen, I want you to hit the bullseye, but let me put a blindfold on you and turn you around in a circle a few times." And they said, "Hit the bullseye." I mean, it's nuts. And so having these tools both as a corporation and as an individual, because as an individual, right? What's going to happen is you're going to see these tools. People want these tools. They're going to start wanting them, loving the tools, because they can finally make sense of this world that makes no sense. For instance, now, and I don't know if you're doing this, Karen, but it's really interesting. So one of the things I've been talking about is being able to find the right doctor that's got the right expertise to be able to help you, right? Whether it's a cancer, I just went through it with the cancer situation, looking for the top oncologists, and having these tools in front of you, and not just an oncologist, but one that works in things like, triple negative breast cancer, that's an expert in that, not just breast cancer, not just cancer, those kind of tools. And all of a sudden, everything changes because that doctor now has things that he or she likes to go after, and you have the best in the world. Why not?
Absolutely. I mean, so that while we started there, right, the next logical step for us was who's going to provide the service, right? We've identified the problem, we've given you insights, right? We've told you, okay, you got to do this, right? Let's say somebody's on the cusp of diabetes, right? They need to go for a follow-on diabetes check every 6 months just to ensure that they're not over the hump, right? And but how do you get it done, right? How do you provide a quality of care, right? And be able to also control the data, right? That's when we said, how about we start integrating with all the healthcare ecosystem, right? So today, we work with almost 60,000 plus service providers who are integrated into the platform, where you as an individual can look up for a doctor, right? Look up for a hospital, look up for a diagnostic center, a imaging center, right? Look up for any specific test, any specific kind of specialty that you want, right? Book an appointment, walk in, right? Get the consultation done, get the checkup done, walk out, right? With and then the data flows back into the system,
Yeah,
right?
and
So
it's not like you're going out with a doctor trying to, trying to find that specialist. And the way you got to go is you got to go the friend of the friend, somebody that's going to IIT or Duke, and you're saying, "Hey, do you have somebody that's, I happen to be in Durham. Can you tell me somebody that has this specialty?" And you're going around in this circle. I've done it, right, personally, and I've used my.
Well, what I'm really surprised. Provider discovery is such a big problem statement in US, right?
It is
I
a
mean,
huge problem, Karen. You can't imagine. I mean, I went through it. So I went through it on the kidney stuff, and then my wife has breast cancer. I mean, I personally went through it with her, right
but
now, and
it,
it's
it
not
makes it makes no absolute sense for me. Why is it such a bigger problem
because the
statement?
thing is, your problem's far-reaching. You're looking at it a limited way, right? And you got 8.1 billion people on the planet. And here's the other thing. Think about this. There's money in the US. You understand the system is messed up and there's a lot of money. For instance, to buy insurance per month, it cost me on my wife's side about $1,200 per month, right? And I'm not talking about the best insurance in the world. I'm talking about better than average, but not the best. And so there's a lot of money inside of the system, and there's a lot of streamlining that can be done, right? And optimizing. And so to have one of these systems, I went through it, so I'll tell you the exact situation. You
I
know,
was just I was just talking to a startup out of US, right, which is only focusing on provider network, only focusing on imaging within that provider network, right? And I felt it was bloated, right? For the amounts that they're spending to develop that application. It isn't, I mean, in today's world, I mean, just provider discovery is, I mean, you can create a web page out of nothing,
yeah,
right?
but the thing is, the thing is finding the right. Because, for instance, with my wife, so what did I do? Literally, I went to one of my buddies at Thai, right? Because some of the Indian doctors are the best in the world, and I went into the network at Thai. I got that through one of my buddies from IIT. He got me in touch with a person from MD Anderson, which one of the number one cancer group in the United States. They put me in touch with a doctor who's located in Florida. Listen to really how it happened. Okay.
Wow.
I hired a concierge doctor. I have my own, right? And I got one for my wife. So now I got a friendly introduction. So I don't have to worry about not getting in for 6 months, you know. Um, and I understood. So on another occasion, what happened is I got in. Now, if I wouldn't have done that, it could take me 2 or 3 months, and the cancer could have gotten a lot more advanced than what it was.
Yeah,
And,
that,
and
that, that
it's screwed up. Seriously, I have a doctor from Yale. The company's called MedMatch Network. It's inside of GSD. It's one of our portfolio companies. I had Calviri, which is a cancer vaccine inside of GSD. Cerebru from Denmark is a imaging group. Actually, going insane. Actually, their business is insane. Raised 25 million, and they're going for another round now. So these kind of companies, but what you're doing is this infobesity problem is something we have not solved. And it's not just that omni-channel engine you built can be used anywhere, Karen. Seriously. It's
Absolutely.
everywhere we have a problem. You know what I mean? It's, I try to find somebody to do work on your car. You have the same crazy problem because who can do this transmission, and do it at the right kind of way that's approved. And I don't want to go through Yelp and Google reviews where somebody puts their cousins and uncles putting in reviews and, oh, you got 5 stars, right? But really, this is a problem. It's the infobesity challenge. And um, and with healthcare, there's so much money in it. I mean, think about it. It's great, but go where the money is. That's the other thing. It's a huge problem here. Now, if you got the right kind of doctor on the cancer side, so you find a top specialist, you get into that specialist, the probability of survival goes way up.
Absolutely.
You know what I did
Absolutely.
too? I took my multi-agent large language models. I took everything the doctor sent me, everything we had from every imaging, everything. And I took it and put it in my model, my 14 agent model we built. It's a multi-agent, multimodal model. And it went down through and wrote a complete report for me and told me what I needed to do. And I used that with me when I would go in to see the doctor, right? And um, and it gave me guidance, it gave me knowledge, and it took away the fear, right? That kind of thing. So having kind of like your grandmother, right? I say with empathy and compassion, have a model down there that cares about you, that I'm a psychologist too, and inside of you helps you, right? Guide you. That thing, nobody's done that. Hyper personalization on steroids.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we're working on, right? So we, like I said, we are sucker for data, right? Every data point, whether it's, so we started collecting diagnostic data, doctors' data, right? Then we said, okay, can you connect the variables also, what we call below the skin, above the skin data, right? So we're now interpreting multi-data longitudinal view. But the beauty about going via corporate route is we would get the same information year on year. So there are contracts where I've been managing for 5, 7 years
Oh,
now.
it's good to build your business up, but the thing is, it's going to, if you want to dominate the planet Earth, right? So, that's a whole different deal. I just came back. So, last week I was out in Palo Alto, right? I was judging a competition out in Palo Alto. And, a lot of my friends have scaled multi-billion-dollar companies, a lot. And I was with one of them on Friday, actually,
Mhm.
and very well-known AI person. And we were there talking about it. And I remember when we started our companies together in the same office in 2016. He's a Stanford PhD in computer science, and his business explosively grown. And we were talking about it then. I remember back in 2016, right? How the world's going to change. But that's where you are. It's going to change everything, because the problem is there's a democratization of opportunity angle too, right? How in the world do you reach people that would never have that kind of care and give them the doctors that are the best in the world, right? And then the other thing is using your tool and building in that knowledge so it has the knowledge of those doctors, so it takes away a lot of the BS stuff, and it just gives them, surgical precision, what needs to be done, right? This is the exact doctor. I got your information. Here's the doctor. Let me help you. I'll follow you through the process.
Absolutely. So that's the goal, right? That's the goal, to hyper personalize. That's the goal, to get as many variables as possible, because the more data that we know about an individual, the more deeper we can in terms of personalize the recommendations, right? And that's 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 exactly what we are doing right now, right? So covering everything from, like I said, above the skin, below the skin, doctors, medicines, diagnostics, right? Nutrition, any data, sleep data, calorie data, any data that we are able to collect about an individual. On an average, we collect around 60, 70 parameters per individual per year, right? Healthcare data, which is the same data that we are able to collect every year. So we now have studies wherein how a cohort performed before COVID and post COVID for chest X-rays, right? I mean, there's a lot of
That,
R&D.
and then who's got this drug? I worked. We worked on a project with some folks from Stanford. This is a long time, like 2013, 2014. So I was an MBA professor at the top business school in Russia. So I was building companies, and I lived in Moscow for a while. And before the war started, and then I left. But one of the things that was quite interesting for me is that then we were talking about this same problem. There's so many data points out there and so many people. I mean, you're basically creating an omni-channel engine that can do all kinds of things that are going to change our lives. And you know, on one side of it, everybody's going to want it because everybody wants to live longer. That's it. If you just say a tagline, live longer and forget everything else, you know what I mean? That's pretty simple. What is it? You remember that? You were a Duke. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS rule. Remember that?
True that.
And then, but the part of the problem too, Kiran, is that it's like having a Ferrari in the garage. As much business as you have, 25 million. The thing is, the whole world's going to do. Somebody's going to do it. I'm telling you right now because I'm dealing with doctors from Yale. I'm dealing with doctors all over the world. I hear, right? Somebody is going to go down through and create an engine, literally that's like your grandmother, with empathy and compassion, that's going to help guide your life and everything, right? And it's not just healthcare. The same models that you're using can be applied to everything, all parts of your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and today when we are running some of this information and the kind of outputs that we are seeing, right? So we're just taking off-the-shelf LLMs and running some of these models, and I mean, phenomenal in terms of the recommendations and what we are able to do. So, I mean, even recommendations are being personalized by LLMs, right? Depending on the data that we are able to
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, I mean, that's the exciting part, right? In terms of now, previously we had to build, I would say, rule based engines,
I
right?
remember those in the old days. I've been in AI for 29 years, so I was in expert systems back 29 years ago.
So I mean, it was like pulling hair, building the rule based
Oh,
engines, everything else, all of this. Right now, it's like I mean, it's amazing, right? What we are able to do with the data, but the fundamental problem, right? Today, I was in Philippines last week. When I looked at the ecosystem there, it's again the same, right? So there's no data standardization. It's extremely fragmented ecosystem, right? While Philippines, majority of the health corporate business lies around Manila, which is almost the size of a Delhi NCR equivalent to India, right? But yeah, I mean, the problem is the same. The requirements are the same. Uh, the input output metrics are exactly similar, right? So it's that's how we are looking at rinse and repeat from India to Southeast Asia, country by country.
well, I'm going to be down in Africa. One of the wealthiest guys in Africa's brother, it happens to be a very good friend of mine. So I had dinner with him here, and I'm actually flying to Africa, to Nigeria, to speak. And same problem, by the way.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is not, you got 8.1 billion. Those are your jewel in front of you, 8.1 billion people. The key is getting into it, and we talk about this. The problem is there's a lot of great startups out there, Karen, but it's like having a Ferrari in the garage. Nobody knows about it, right? And they know about it in a limited way. So how do you get the Ferrari out of the garage? And most important thing, how do you win Formula One? Right? What do you need? The right team, the right transmission, the right engine, the right aerodynamics. If somebody's won it a couple of times, it makes it easier to get sponsors coming in. If somebody's won the race a couple of times, you know which corner has the oil and to be careful of, a whole lot of things. But we have never approached it like that. We've approached it in an entirely different way. We've done it. We use blindfolds again, right? We're like, oh, what's going to stick? 9 out of 10 companies fail. It's not because they're not great technologies, because you don't have the operational expertise, access to capital, and networking contacts. And if you have those three in a resilient team, any company can become a unicorn. I've seen it. I've personally been involved in them, right? So, we took Click Software as a little company from Israel. That company was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, right? And part of it was marketing, coming up with the name Click Software, the family of products: Click Plan, Click Fix, Click Analyze, Click Schedule, Click Forecast. People said they heard of the company. They couldn't. It was a little tiny company in Israel, right? And look at it now. And that's part of it. Part of the next thing is not having the great technology, but storytelling. I remember taking that course at Stanford. We had an acting coach and we had a MBA professor. And the key with that is 90% of building the unicorn is a story. It's not the product.
True.
It's crazy, right? So anyway, listen, we can do, we're over time. We should do a second session on this thing. But why don't we do this? Why don't we closing thoughts, and then how do people get a hold of you? If you can stay online for a few minutes, I've got a few minutes and we can talk, and then we can talk about doing a part 2 in this thing. Because what you're doing is right. I've literally written 100 articles about this.
Sounds good, Gary.
So closing thoughts, Kiran, and how do people get a hold of you?
So like I said, I mean, it's a very complex problem. It is one of the areas which gives me good sleep, because healthcare is one such industry where you can do good and also make money. It is the intersection of ikigai, right? Do good, make money, enjoy doing it, right? And that's where the passion is, right? And we can, like I said, we continue to grow from India to Southeast Asia and beyond, right? The Ferrari is about to get out of the garage soon.
Yeah, you're a man after my own heart. I've written an article about that, by the way. If you look out there, you'll see I talk about the Ferrari out of the garage.
And yeah, I mean, how to get a hold of me? It's plain simple. My first name, Kiran, at ekincare.com.
I want to thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your inspiring journey and insightful perspectives. You and I are on the same page on this thing, and it's really important for all of us. We talk about, sometimes we live our lives and we walk, but we forget about, all of us are going to come to that end of the journey. But the thing is, if you can move it out 10, 15, 20 years and to be able to live a better quality life, it's critically important. And you're one of the persons that's putting the stake in the ground to be able to make that happen. And it's a beginning of an incredible journey for all of us. So, our hats off to you. And I want to thank all my audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. If you like it, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for another exciting edition. We are proud to say we have 1,440 podcasts, and we have over 1.3 million views, and it's all because of you. Let's get out there, let's make the world a better place, and let's live longer. And people like Karen are making it possible. So thank you, everybody. Karen, if you can stay online, we'll come back after we're done here. Hold on.